right 2 lanes to keep right.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Prepare to Go There, the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation on the internet today. That's my opinion, but I'm just convinced that our future deserves our focus. So let's make it count, right? It is October 14. It's a good Thursday, a great day to pioneer together. If I haven't mentioned it yet, my name is Peter, and it has been a joy to go on this extended coaching journey with so many friends and leaders alike who are all focused on putting in the work today so that way they will show up in the future ready. Ready for what? Well, that's a loaded question, and I think we'll have to wait and see. But the simple idea is that you have found a daily coaching journey for friends and leaders alike who agree it is important to lead yourself and stay focused on the future. We talk a lot about self-leadership so you can think a lot about your future, and it's going to be a great conversation today. Welcome to the Future Frontier. I've got a free tool that is going to help you get started and get better. It's called the Free Fail-Proof Planning Guide. I'll explain it more at the end, but stick around and you can get that. It is my way of saying thank you. And it's great to see everybody jumping in, jumping on. Hi, Joshua. Hope you've had an awesome day thus far. I already breezed through the why, and I want to tell you the what. You found a daily coaching journey that's going to help you lead yourself and stay focused on the future. If this resonates with you, join the Future Friends email community. I send out an email every Friday, and it's just a bundle. I call it the weekly roundup of all of this coaching content so you have access to it. And I also share info and incentives for coaching projects I am working on. There's a handful of projects I'm working on, and I've kind of been under the general impression that if you talk a lot about your goals, like outside of maybe just some accountability, you have a lower chance of getting it done. So I can't tell you what I'm working on because I do want to get it done, and I have some pretty aggressive due dates, but I can tell you it is specifically with you in mind. So make sure that you tune in for the 100th episode of Prepare to Go There and say a prayer in the meantime. But one thing that we did that was a lot of fun is future focused leadership mastermind. Just had a really cool online conversation, Zoom style, pulled together friends who are also leaders. Just an amazing time. We did it on a Saturday morning. I'm not sure if we'll do it the same day or not, but that is definitely gonna happen. Hopefully before Thanksgiving. So we'll see. I'm really looking forward to that. That is one project that I'm referencing as well. It is limited, and that's not for any exclusive reason except for the fact that masterminds just work a little better when you have a small group and let everybody talk. All right. We've been talking about ownership this week, and really the goal of Prepare to Go There is not to tell you stuff you don't know, but to remind you of stuff you do know. And the goal of Prepare to Go There is not to impress you, although it's fun to be impressed, but it really is about keeping the future on the front burner. And for me, I have found that just listening to the things I value, listening to other people have conversations, and just kind of being in earshot of that is enough to fuel my focus. In fact, in a way, it doesn't even matter everything that's being said, as long as the conversation is flammable for your focus. In other words, as long as it just kind of gets you going thinking, and you might agree with some of this, you might disagree with some of this, but it's getting you thinking. And so there's already a growing internal momentum. And so that's what I hope to do, is provoke you to action, provoke you to good works, right? And so we've been talking about ownership, and you're going to get good things today, absolutely, but it's more about the journey, right? Like, you're going places, and that's why you have to prepare to go there. No one else is going to pioneer your future. No one else is going to go to those unprecedented places that you need to show up at in the future. And, a lot of people will forget their future. A lot of people will quit in the middle. And so we've got to be able to lead ourselves and then stay focused with the long haul in mind. And so it's not just one, soundbite, and that was everything I needed to hear. That was perfect. I no longer need any more input. That's like saying you've done great hygiene one time and you don't need to do it anymore. Instead, it's the daily discipline of showing up. It's the ongoing journey of exploring and expanding what's important, what's possible. And so really, I encourage you, go back and kind of backfill some of these conversations, because you'll get a lot of context, and there's a lot of hyperlinks between these different conversations that we're having to hopefully reinforce some of these values, and then to double down on the best practices that make them reality. So there's a book I've read and I'm recommending. It's called Extreme Ownership. And one of the authors had this quote. He explains ownership like this: leaders must own everything in their world. There is no one else to blame. I think there's something admirable about taking responsibility. Even if you weren't the cause of the problem, you can be a part of the solution. You can be the cause of the restoration, the transformation, the change. And that comes down to your mindset. And so my challenge for the future friends this week is, don't sink your ownership. Don't sink your ownership. There's a quote that explains what I mean. Ownership is a mindset. And if you build and waterproof that mindset, you can go so far. In fact, an entire sea of water can't sink a ship unless it gets inside it. And so I've been saying it this way this week: an ownership mindset will take you far unless a counterfeit takes you under. So ownership is a good mindset that we want to develop, but there are counterfeits that can kind of blend in. And in the moment, when you're facing something or feeling something, it's easy for these emotions to kind of blur your sense of discernment. And so we've got to be really sharp and fine tune that discernment. Now, if you remember, we're talking about entitlement, laziness, procrastination, and denial. And so today is all about denial. Denial will absolutely sink your ownership. Like, ownership can take you so far in life. You can accomplish so much unless something takes you under, and denial is one of those things. Now, what is denial? And what does it look like, sound like, feel like? Because we want to get better at detecting signs of denial. And the easiest way to do that is just say, Lord, help. but but there are some practical things we can walk through as well. Here's a quote. George Martin, he's the guy. He's the guy who produced Game of Thrones. He said, most men would rather deny a hard truth than face it. So the disposition, the default, the propensity of most people is they'd rather just ignore or avoid a hard truth. Someone else, Northcote Parkinson, said, delay is the deadliest form of denial. So it's when we say, yeah, that's probably right. That's probably good. It's probably true, but not now. Not now. And then here's my own informal description. Denial impersonates your intentions without implementing them. Denial impersonates your intentions without implementing them. So you have the language that is good. You have the language of self-leadership. You have the language of your values, but you're not really living them. It's another great example is you're looking at a mirror and you say you see everything in that mirror, but as soon as you turn away, you've forgotten what you saw and you take no action. You don't take any action that there was something in your teeth, that you didn't take any action that you got to trim between your eyebrows. You didn't take any action on what you saw in the mirror. You just forgot about it. You just took on selective amnesia. Denial is referred to as when you refuse to accept a truth. You refuse to agree with something that is true. And denial is not, just some big show out in the open where you're like defying and you're fighting against, some truth, but it's more of a low-key kind of silent killer. And so we could say, why is denial so important? Or important to detect? I mean, is it really that dangerous? Come on, Peter. Is it really that bad to let someone pretend a little bit? I mean, what's the harm in pretending? Right? So what if they think they're cool or they think they're healthier than they are? They think they're, right all the time. Like, is that so wrong to just pretend to live in your own imaginary world? And we could, be kind and let people just kind of keep living in this echo chamber, keep living in this fun house of all of these funky mirrors, all these distorted reflections and perspectives. But to be unclear is to be unkind. And the answer is yes, it can be very dangerous. This is a silent killer. In fact, don't let your ownership mindset sink with denial on board. In fact, you need to be proactively looking for signs of denial to the truth, denial to what is true about you. And here's why it's so dangerous. The reason it's so dangerous is because everyone will still have to settle their scores with the real world based on the real facts. No one gets exemption or a pass from the real world and where we live with real facts. you can think you live in a different world, but you're still going to have to settle your scores here in the real world. And so you can be wasting a lot of time, a lot of energy thinking that you're getting ahead and finding out that it was really just a castle of sand, a deck of cards. Now, we're going to get into some practical examples of this, but don't sync your ownership with denial on board. I want to hyperlink a conversation I had with a friend who's also a leader. Her name is Lacey Henderson. We had a great conversation about self-examination. Now, Lacey, I've known Lacey for many years, and she is a counselor and a social worker. And she talked about the importance of self-examination. And she alluded to this thing called toxic positivity. And sometimes we don't want to take ownership for where we are in life because we think that life is perfect. We say life is awesome. Everything is awesome, you know, and we just kind of go on with this sense of positivity that she said denies people real hope. They don't have, this is not hope. This form of toxic positivity is not, it's not really hopeful about the future. They still dread the future. They still have anxiety. They still have stress on stress. So this routine they go through is more of a coping mechanism than anything else. And it denies people their human experiences. It just kind of puts a mask on things. It just kind of like covers things up. And one thing you want to look out for in your own life and in your own experience is you want to look for signs of a redundant or redundant seasons of life. Redundant seasons of life. In other words, are there areas of stinted growth, or are you seeing signs of growth from one season of your life to another? Now, I'm not just talking about status or money. I'm talking about the quality of your life. I'm talking about the elements of your life story, your life's work. Are you making progress? Another way you could say it is, are you seeing signs of fruit in your life? Right? Are you staying rooted? Are you reaching further? Are you producing fruit for the future? And if you're just kind of listening to this, you know, propaganda of positivity, that there's no need for growth, no need for change, no need for anything else or new. And there's just kind of this redundancy that's just going through again and again. And what happens is you're more comfortable with going through motions than you are going for movement. You know, in our own health, in our own body, if we're not moving, our body thrives off of movement. We've got, you know, all kinds of signals going from our brain to different parts. There's a lot of neuro movement going on. There's our blood is pumping. We've got so much movement going on inside of us that we don't even know about. There's so much movement around us we may not even know about. My goodness, the earth itself is moving. Movement is a part of living. It's a part of life. And if you atrophy, if you deny growth, change, progress, movement, which really is all a byproduct of faith, of hope, of love. Because when you have these deep-seated motivations that inspire you to take action, inspire you to keep growing, inspire you to keep dreaming. It's not just some, sterilized, technical, clinical thing. It's like, well, statistically, 22% down on this, that, and the other. It comes down to a visceral gut level. How are you doing in your soul? How are you doing personally? Where are you in life? Where is your hope? Where is your joy? Where is your focus? And what happens is we have no safe harbor to dock our ownership mindset. I'm all for having an ownership mindset. We're talking about the whole week, but there has to be safe harbors where you can put down your sales and put down your title and put down your image and your status and your whatever, and you've got to be honest about how you're really doing instead of just continuing these scripted lines. And I believe that you can be super super genuine and be good in your soul and go through tough times, and that doesn't mean that something's wrong, but I'm referring to your own sense of awareness at how you're doing personally. And we can identify signs of denial when we pick up ourselves using code language to explain why things aren't working. In other words, you may have like a connection, you may have a comparison, a cause effect relationship. You say, okay, if we do this, then we should get this result. We're doing this, right? Right. But we're not seeing this result, right? So what's going on? Oh, well, right? And then here comes the answers. Here comes the explanations. Here comes the reasons. And denial has a way of making up its own language. Denial has a way of making up its own math. Denial has a way of making up its own reasons. Another way to say it is that denial is the ability to make excuses sound like results. We make excuses about our thought life, our self-care, our relationships, our working results, our fitness, our whatever, and we think we talk up that we're making progress when really it's exaggerated or it's just not actually the case. And we do this in front of people like a rehearsed script. And we can do this so many times because we're trying to save face, save face, save face, save face. And then all those people leave, and then it's just us. And we keep thinking that script, and we actually start to believe the the lie or the half truth, if anything. And now we're actually accepting the answer. And really, that's not the case. So this is super painful. I mean, this is a silent killer to dreams and goals, projects, relationships. I mean, this is I'm not doing this lightly. I'm not having fun with this conversation. I mean, no honest person will say that they're just totally on top of this. Man, this takes a lot of humility even to talk about. I'm not trying to lecture anybody. I mean, as far as I don't even know who all is on this conversation. This is me processing a real conversation that I want to keep having to say, okay, How do I keep going? How do I keep growing? I need to develop an ownership mindset. Okay, ownership is a mindset that can take me far as long as a counterfeit doesn't take me under. What are some counterfeits that could take me under? Entitlement could take me under because it would basically compromise the ownership. It would sink the ownership by thinking that I don't have to take ownership. I just get results and I don't have to make sacrifices to go along with them. Laziness would absolutely sink the ownership because I may not feel like doing the work and I think I have more time and I'm not making decisions at the right pace. Procrastination would definitely play into that too because I imply that I want to do this work. I imply that, oh, I'm probably just too busy when really there is an avoidance that's being masked and there's a fear that needs to be faced. And now here comes denial of all things because denial is so crazy. Denial is a silent killer of dreams and projects and goals because you actually think you're doing the work. You actually think you are taking ownership. You're like, there's nothing more I could do. Really? Really? You're saying there's nothing more you can do for your health, for your relationships, to grow in generosity, to work on your character. There's nothing more. Nope, I just can't think of anything. I'm doing amazing. Life is good. God is good. Man, I'm doing great. Really? So you've just totally arrived. You've just totally arrived. There's nothing. You're just remembering everything that you've accomplished in the past and you have no sense of future. I thought it was the other way around. I thought we're supposed to forget the things that are behind us so that way we can keep reaching for the upward calling. Man, there's always room to grow. Doesn't, I mean, if you've experienced any measure of grace, of success, that is fuel for a lifestyle of humility to say, hey, I got to keep going. I got to keep growing. I mean, since when did a point in your journey take away the point of your journey? I didn't sign up to get to this destination or that hilltop. I came on the journey because I wanted to follow the Lord. I mean, that's my why. I'm preparing myself to go there. So we've got to just process this honestly because otherwise we start to do the same thing that works with other people and it starts to rub off on us. I mean, other people, they may not catch all the subtleties, all the cues, and they're okay. And honestly, they're probably just preoccupied with whatever's going on in their world, and it's not really their place to come over and do couch time with someone else. So they'll buy it. They'll actually be okay with it. They may actually move along. But don't think, "Oh, well they agree, then it works." Just because other people are nodding their head when you're talking doesn't mean, number 1, that they really believe what you're saying, or 2, that you should believe what you're saying. Like, for real. How are you really doing? For real. Are you really growing? Are you really focused? Are you really happy? Are you really committed? What is really going on? Don't make your excuses sound like accomplishments. Just look at the ownership and let's get it to safe harbor. Let's salvage the ownership we have right now. You may say, hey, honestly, I'm just kind of maxed out. Honestly, I've heard that advice multiple times. I just had this happen yesterday. I got a text message from a friend. He gave me some great advice to help with this project, prepare to go there. And I just had to, and I was thinking, dang it, I just finished a conversation about procrastination. And here I am getting called out for procrastination. I'm not doing this because I'm the expert. I'm doing this because I need this conversation. Just like you, I'm fired up, I'm focused, and I'm going to keep leaning forward. I'm not going to be discouraged, distracted, or disqualified. I'm going to keep moving onward. And I just told him, I just was like honest with him. I said, hey, this is an amazing idea. And actually, other people, 2, 3 other people have given me the exact same idea to really grow, prepare to go there and take it to the next level. And I know that it's easy. And I'm not, I don't think I'm dragging my feet on this. I'm just telling you, I'm working on a project. I have a goal. I'm going for prepare to go there 100. I just couldn't see myself doing this and that. I need help. I need help. And that is something like really mild. I mean, it might be something moral, it might be something in your character, and you got to really be honest about that. Now, I would much rather you find safe harbor and salvage the ownership you do have than to let denial get in you below deck and ruin everything you've worked on. Don't do it. Don't do it. The antidote to denial is honest, healthy lament. Man, we don't like to face tough conversations. We don't like to face hard truths. We don't like to just process these feelings or emotions that can make us sad, that can, you know, just have this sense of like, man, or sorry, or why. And we're processing this stuff. And I want to tell you, it is safe and it is good to lament, but you got to know where to dock. You have to know where to put your ownership mindset aside. There are times where you have to really say, hey, I've done as good as I can, as long as I can, but it's not doing enough. And I need to really be honest about this. And I'm going to need some help to do this in a healthy way. So that way, as I grieve, as I mourn here, I'm going to, it's going to be facilitated in a way that's constructive and not just destructive. And I know this might sound like a broken record because we just talked about self-examination, but I feel like this is a theme because you can go through so much change, you can experience so much disruption that you don't have time to even process the moment, and you just kind of move on with life, and you just go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and you don't realize that if we don't dock at a safe harbor and really evaluate the ownership mindset and fix some things up and let healing happen, if we go back out with that unresolved, it would be worse off the next time. And so lament is good. I mean, I'm just blown away. I'm inspired by Jesus. I say that as much as I can, but he said, "Blessed are you who mourn. Blessed are you who mourn." Man, there's actually, you don't have to be intimidated by it. You don't have to be ashamed of it. Honestly, if we don't lament, then we can't repent. And if we're not willing to repent, then we can't move on. We can't get a change of heart, change of mind, change of life. There's no kind of change if we're not willing to go through a lamenting phase. I just have all of these references. Um, but if we don't lament, we can't repent. If we can't repent, then we can't find the healing we need. There is a good way to grieve. Grieve expectations that didn't happen. Grieve failures that you took personally. Grieve timelines that have gone way longer than you wanted. To grieve things that just you wonder about. And you've got to be able to go through a healing process and realize that it doesn't have to be a hopeless experience. In the contrary, it can be transformative, it can be restorative. So this goes both ways, but the big idea is let yourself be sad. No, the I mean, maybe in a way, but the point I'm making is the only way you can detect the signs of denial is to confront stuff that's going on below deck and then find comfort outside of yourself. And, confronting and comforting do kind of go hand in hand. So, when was the last time you found a safe harbor? When was the last time you initiated some sort of SOS and said, I got to be honest? I got to be honest. I think we have a value for this. We have a value for transparency. We have a value for vulnerability. But are we practicing it? Are we doing this? I'll tell a very real story. And man, I had just a conversation with a friend recently, and I interact with them all the time. And it was like there was kind of this conversation and then an awkward pause. And instead of just kind of moving along, it just kind of stopped, just kind of paused, just waited, kind of just looked up from my phone, just kind of made a little more eye contact, a little bit longer, just kind of like anticipating, like, what's going on here? And something surfaced. And I was like, I never knew that. Thank you for sharing that. I don't want to be the friend who always has to unload on my friend. I got to be careful. I can't do that. You can't, we don't see friends enough. And then we kind of get piled up with all of these unprocessed emotions and unresolved decisions. And so then we just use our friends as part of the external processing. And it can happen, but you just wait all week just to have that hangout with that friend, or you wait all week just to be with that family member, or you wait all week and then what do? You get on the phone and then whatever's in you comes out of you and you're like, "Oh man, I didn't want that. I was trying I was trying to make this time valuable for them too, and here I go just unloading." And if that's happening, you shouldn't, punish yourself for it, but you need to notice that. You need to acknowledge that, and you need to turn that into more of a proactive um, move to go find safe harbor somewhere, go to the right place, the right people where you can begin to vent, you can share. Sometimes venting does turn into lamenting, but you got to be honest. And if we're honest, I think we get more invitations to open up than we admit. Maybe we don't take them enough. And I'm just brokenhearted when I see some of these celebrities and they've done this. They do these shows, or I'll see them on YouTube and they're just like having their confessions. And now they're like doing these big confessionals in front of their audiences. And I don't know if that's how it really happens. maybe it does. I mean, maybe it's cathartic, or maybe it's part of the show, but I don't have judgment. I just have a lot of empathy, and I'm like, man, I don't know if that's how it really happens. And I think the same way, your best discoveries, your best decisions go deeper, deeper underground and happen when no one's looking. I think that's sometimes when your worst experiences, your worst emotions, your worst acts happen too, right? When we suppress them again and again and again. So just be open to initiate some personal, private reflection, to have some honest conversations, to be okay with lamenting what didn't happen, what's not happening, um, and let that lament lead you into healing. Let that lament lead you into growth. Let that lament lead you into change, and find safe harbor. Find safe harbor, because if you just have this kind of rough and tough attitude for everything all the time, you can kind of get calloused to the real data, and then you can kind of get entrenched, and then that kind of leads to the stuff we were talking about earlier. So take this for whatever it's worth. Um, I really do like talking about productivity, self leadership, calendar stuff. Man, had a whole run on calendaring. I don't know if this is just like a good season to have this conversation, because we're in quarter four and we're kind of closing accounts in the year and we're kind of looking ahead. But I don't want you to rush past the real insights and the real decisions that you need to face off. And if you're just kind of out there in the deep, just kind of doing your own thing, and you're just saying, well, it's because I'm taking ownership of my life, there, that in itself might be a counterfeit. Um, if your sense of ownership is bringing you into isolation, then I don't know if you want that long term. Go through healthy lament, find safe harbors. This has to get really practical. So let me know. I'm enjoying seeing some guys in the chat. Thank you guys. Let me know what's resonating with you. Let me know what questions come to mind. Let's try to get practical with this as well. I think practically for us, we're growing a community here of future friends, is a very dicey thing, to plan for the future, prepare for the future. And that's not, I always kind of, I never want to mislead people that I'm saying you're going to have your whole future figured out, because really it's more, it's more about getting the right values, the right mindsets, the right skill sets to just go for it, and not feel this pressure or this restlessness to have it all figured out. You can't predict what's going to happen, but you can prepare for it. You can be prepared for whatever happens next. And as we're kind of developing this conversation, and out of it comes a community that embrace it, I really want to challenge you. How are you going to become a safe harbor for other people to lament? I remember what it was like a few years ago when I was going through unprecedented stress, and I literally didn't understand my symptoms. Physically, I didn't understand my symptoms. It was just like something new every day. And it really kind of made me wonder, like, what's going on, and am I really okay? And And thankfully, I found some safe harbors. And I couldn't even get myself to those safe harbors all the time. There were a few times my wife drove me. I couldn't even drive myself to go, and we did the conventional things. We went to the doctor and we did some of that, but really what it came down to were friends and mentors that we could go to. And there was one case study where we had some friends on the other side of town, and the main reason, I'll say it this way, the main reason we would go is because they didn't know anything that was going on. They thought I was cool and they just laughed a lot. And so I would just go, kind of not be whatever. I wouldn't be in my world or my space, and I could just go listen to them laugh. And man, I would just laugh along with them. And it was so wonderful just to start laughing with them and talking with them and connecting with them. And then kind of the bigger crew would all go home, and then we'd hang out with, our friends over there. And then we just had space to open up. And it was like this whole kind of evening long thing. I mean, that's an investment, but that's what a safe harbor looks like. It doesn't mean like drive through. You go through, drive through and get your coffee, you drive through and hi and bye. And I mean, it takes time to really unwind. It takes time to lament. Lamenting is not efficient. Okay. Lamenting is not efficient. And so many times we're just going for efficiency and we suppress. And then all we bring up is kind of this artificial confidence. And I don't want to overplay this phrase of toxic positivity because that's not the only thing, but there are these different defense mechanisms. And we just need the humility to say, it's okay to not be okay. And this too shall pass. And every stress has a strategy. And I'm going to get it. I'm going to find it. And going to find safe harbor. Now, there was another case study where we went to safe harbor. And I would love to get my mentor or both, he and his wife, on Prepare to Go There. I mean, that would be literally viral, next level, whatever. It would just be hilarious. It would be great. But we would go just get poured into. We'd have a great meal. And then we'd just kind of move over into the living room. And thankfully, they just kind of have a culture in their house. They're like, yeah, come hang, come stay. And man, seeing that modeled was so good. And they just keep pouring. And what I mean by that is they were talking. They were just talking a lot. And it was like I had my own private, coaching session. I mean, I felt so esteemed. I was like, this is amazing. This stuff, I don't know why this stuff isn't in a book yet. But it was all spontaneous. It was all kind of like this, right? You're getting this all this pouring. And it's not even one exact thing that's being said. It's just that stream of thought that's coming out. And it was just like washing. It was just kind of like washing off the sorrow, it was bringing the sorrow up, but it was like washing it away in a healthy way and helping me process and helping me walk through things and talk through things. It was amazing. There were some times there would be clarifying questions. You say, Peter, why are you bringing this up? Why are you talking about this? Because you need to be a safe harbor. You need to be a safe harbor that lets other people lament. And if you're just saying, no, you can't feel that way. No doubt allowed. It may not be doubt. It may just be pain. It may be pain. And you got to work on that. Because if that doesn't heal correctly, you can't put more weight on it later. And it may be, I talk about this theme off and on in a lot of different ways. I'll have to remember, but I talked about relational maintenance, the same way that you have to routinely service your car. and you have to get the oil changed and the tires checked and the engine checked, and you kind of do that routine maintenance. It's always inconvenient. I mean, never look at your calendar and say, I'm missing the car mechanic. I'd love to go say hi to them. I'd love to just go visit them and hang out with them for about 30 minutes and just see what's going on in their world and see what other, products they have. I mean, you just don't think that way. It's kind of an inconvenient thing at first, but it'd be far better to have a scheduled maintenance than to have an unexpected blowout on the highway. And that's kind of the same idea here, that you've got to get your ownership mindset to safe harbor. And you don't deal with denial in the open waters. You don't deal with denial when you're out there and you're doing it and it's all happening, because you won't let yourself let down there. But it's when you come into safe harbor and you have to be intentional and proactive and get ahead of that and say, we're just going to be intentional about this. We're going to schedule this in. We want to stay in a rhythm of relationship. We want to stay in a rhythm of relationship. That was such a game changer for me when I realized that the calendar was actually a tool to keep me in relationships with other people. I said, I get it now. I totally get it. The reason I don't have the right rhythm in these relationships is because I haven't been using the tool to steward it effectively. Oh, yeah, duh. I haven't put it on the calendar. So now, man, that's like my anthem. I'm telling everybody, hey, someday is not a day in the week. Someday is not a day in the week. Pick a day: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You've got to be intentional about being relational. You've got to go find safe harbor, and you've got to be a safe harbor. And I wouldn't know what really works or what really helps, be it comforting or confronting, unless somebody had done it to me. And there were times where we went away and we were hanging out with friends, generally our age, and they were comforting. They were laughing, they're hanging out. It was good. There were other times we would get away and we got some confronting. I did. My wife is amazing. Honestly, she's the best. She's great. But to get that honest, healthy lamenting, and to encourage it or facilitate it or to model it, it's so good. That's how you deal with this. That's how you deal with this. Now you can do some journaling, and that kind of helps in more of a short form. Obviously, you can get away, be honest with the Lord, and that's where it has to land. But lamenting, I'm talking about safe harbors because I think we don't even know what that looks like. I mean, I think there have been people, they've been just kind of out there for years. They haven't come to a harbor once. So find a few harbors to dock in, and learn what it's like to be a safe harbor for other people. And I just had an amazing story just a few weeks ago. We got interrupted. We were just doing house projects here. We got a text message. Can we come visit? I was like, yeah, come on. Absolutely. So be a safe harbor for other people. I feel like I'm repeating myself. So let me knock it off. All right. If you enjoyed this conversation, go ahead and let me know. And I want you to be a part of the email community so you can get more content to help you lead yourself and stay focused on the future. You can get the free fail-proof planning guide by clicking the link below. It's going to help you get going so you can get better. And it's a step-by-step proven process. It's not going to tell you what to do. It's just going to help you think through some things that are important, like your roles and your goals, how that gets fleshed out into routines and rhythms. And then it's going to help you work on a um, weekly planning session. And we'll be back tomorrow with another round of Prepare to Go There. Tomorrow is Future Friday. I love Future Fridays, and they've gotten better. I mean, I think each week it's getting fine tuned. So I'm going to have another great conversation with a friend who's also a leader, Xavier Garcia, and I'm just super impressed by this guy. And so he's just going to just knock this conversation out of the park. I feel like I've been doing a lot of, I don't know, a lot of exhorting and comforting maybe, but we're going to get some practical stuff back in here too. And he's got a really great story. He's doing, I really appreciate how he's making progress on multiple fronts of his life. And he's just modeled self-leadership really well. And so I'm excited about bringing him on live tomorrow at 4. So let some other friends know, maybe you have friends, they're also leaders. They could be leaders in for-profit, nonprofit, online, locally, whatever it looks like. Just tell them, come on. Self-leadership matters, and we want to put in the work. Remember, you are going places. And if you believe that, you're going to make today count. Put in the work and prepare to go there. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you tomorrow.